Welcome back to the panel. So Christmas season is coming up, and I'm one of those people that really, well, I like to give people stuff, and I want them to keep it, and I don't want them to ever return it, ever, or re-gift it. I know, I'm such a snob about it. And I was thinking about this the other day, about how people have been talking about the incentive programs that we have, whether they be film or whether it be to drill oil or gas, whatever those incentives are. And when you're looking at companies, and Senator Wielechowski, you and I have talked about this on my radio show a little bit, but I sort of have this idea that the state of Alaska should give a gift card to the company. Like, hey, Conoco, we'd love to give you $2 billion a year, but we're going to give you a gift card so you have to spend it at our store. And you can't have cash back. Like, I would have no problem if we were giving money back to the oil companies to keep, because God knows the pipeline, I don't know if y'all heard. The thing, we got to get milkmaids on the other end. They're going to have to just start milking that thing because it's going dry. If they had to spend it in Alaska, and they couldn't spend it anywhere else, because with our film incentive program, if you film about Alaska or about anything else not in Alaska, you don't get our film credits. That seems right. Senator?
I think that's a great system you're proposing, Shannyn, and that is actually the system that we have in place right now under ACES.
It's a gift card?
We have the philosophy behind ACES was we weren't getting our fair share. We had an old tax structure called the ELF, the economic limit factor. Under that tax structure, which was in place for a couple decades, you had a zero tax rate on the vast majority of fields on the North Slope, and you had a declining tax rate of about 12.5% of the gross on the major legacy fields, Prudhoe Bay, Park, a couple others. And in fact, that tax rate actually declined over years. The philosophy was low taxes will lead to more investment. Well, you look at the period from 2001 to 2006, where oil prices were hitting record highs, and you had investment declining, you had jobs declining, you had throughput declining more than it is today. We revamped the system. We said companies were taking that money and investing it in countries like Libya with a 95% tax rate, Iraq, which now is a 99% tax rate, Russia, Venezuela, Ecuador, countries with 90+% tax rates. And so we said that system is not working. We're going to give you big tax breaks to reinvest in Alaska. We're going to increase the tax rate a little bit, and it was actually a significant increase, but it's still in alignment with where the other countries in the world are. We're very competitive when you compare us to the rest of the world. We've got the second best tax incentives in the world, according to the Parnell consultants. So that's the philosophy behind ACES. And
did Parnell consult with his consultants before they consulted with him?
Well, what you see now is
come on now.
You've got jobs at all-time highs. You've got investment at all-time highs. You've got, although 54% of the people that are being hired are non-residents. You've got exploratory wells.
I hear they're North Dakotans. I'm just putting it out there. Don't know where I heard it.
You've got exploratory wells next year going to break the all-time record, 34 exploratory wells drilled next year. So, in my opinion, the system's working. The problem that we have is we have to increase production. Throughput does decline. Absolutely. Throughput, unfortunately, declined from 2 million barrels down to 750.
Craig, you're watching this go back and forth. I'm watching it go back. Everybody's watching this. We've got Make Alaskans Bend Over and Grab It, Coalition, or whatever they are. I don't even know. All I know is that they seem exactly the same thing as this outfit called FixTheTax.com out of North Dakota, where they dug up some old governor and they have him out and they pull the string and he goes, "We need to fix the tax." It's kind of one of those things. We've got you out there. We've got these report cards coming out, and they're kind of ridiculous. Is this just going to be the topic for a while? Is this just going to be the ping pong?
I don't think we can avoid it. It supports the state. And it seems to be an argument where everybody's wrong and everybody's right. I mean, a lot of what Bill says is true. Unfortunately, the results have not been the same. Production has fallen. It's continuing to fall. Somebody needs to figure out how to stop that.
Why don't we just take it over?
Well, that would be a
Why don't we just have, the Alaska Oil Company?
There's been the suggestion of a state oil company. I mean, and that's
why not? Norway's doing it.
Then Norway's doing it very well, and a bunch of people who went to Norway came back very impressed, thinking that, we should too.
Well, you know what's impressive about Norway? A $550 billion permanent fund with less oil than us and less time. I mean, why do we have to Or like that fat girl on a date that's just so grateful that someone will be seen with her, she buys dinner. And I'm sick of that. I really am. I'm like, come on, Alaska, you're hot. Really. Like, you can do this. Like, we don't have to be that grateful. We have sovereignty.
Really,
We've got a brilliant constitution that said that we're an owner state. And if you think it's socialist, fine. I don't care. Move. It kind of is. But that's what we are.
We're kind of hot half the year.
What's that?
We're really kind of only hot half the year. We're like that woman you take on a date, you know, in one light she's like gorgeous, and the other light is like, oh my God!
Oh my God. There's a man with a knife behind her.
We're only hot.
So what do you think? Why don't we just buy our own? Come on, you're the big...
I don't think I'd want to do that.
Why? Don't you
Take
think...
over the... Well, because we would have something along the lines of the grain silos or that fishing plant that doesn't work.
It works now. They're just fishers of men. It's a great big supersize your Jesus church.
Government does some things well, but there's a whole lot of things that it doesn't do well at all.
How did Norway figure out how to do it well and we
How
can't?
did China figure it out? They're into government capitalism, I mean, in a big way, and they seem to be taking over the world.
Well, they're taking over our coal fields.
Anyway, I would not recommend that. But if we could get back to ACES for a minute, I agree with Senator Wielechowski that there is one end of the ACES bill law that is proving very effective, and that's the one that encourages exploration by there are a number of independents that are drilling on the North Slope now. The biggest problem with it is that there is a very important disincentive for the majors, the producers, to reinvest in the field, and the problem is that when they invest, there is no upside potential. It's just they'll get this and that's all. But what they want is a situation where if the price of oil goes up, they want to make more money. But that doesn't work that way.
That's what everybody wants. We got to run to a break. I'm going to let Senator Wielechowski answer that when we come back. We'll be back in just a moment with more Up North. Welcome back. So Tom Brennan was talking about one end of ACES there, that he didn't feel it was working, that because oil companies want to make a lot of money when the price is high. Well, of course you do. We all want to make a lot of money. But it seems to me when I'm looking at their records coming out, Tom, I don't know about you, but in one quarter making $500 million.
You know, Alaska's... From every objective measure that you look at it, Alaska is an extremely profitable place to do business. Don't take my word for it. Take it from the words of ConocoPhillips executives who on March 23rd, 2011, were in an analyst conference call in New York City, right in the middle of our ACES debate, and they were asked by some big bankers, what do you think about Alaska? And they said, quote, we like Alaska. It offers, quote, strong cash margins and very good returns. So, you know, and we actually ran the returns during ACES. We hired this outside company that Governor Parnell is continuing to use called Gaffney & Klein. They computed internal rates of return at Prudhoe Bay for BP, $80 a barrel, that's 123%. They
123% is pretty good, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, but...
I mean, for just us.
All I have to say about it is I don't believe it.
Oh, that's from, you're saying that's from Parnell's folks?
Well, that was from the consultants that Parnell
123% of what?
123%. So in other words, for every dollar you put in, you make 123% rate of return.
On an $80
$80 a barrel, assuming
you make $1.23 back, or
yeah, you put your money in the bank, you get a less than 1% rate of return.
The problem is they can make more money by making their investments in North Dakota. And that's what's been happening to us. The investments are going south. North Dakota, Texas, Gulf of Mexico, even California is kicking out butt right now.
Yeah, I heard Brian Butcher went down there and counted license plates and had that be a great big hairy study.
According to
wow, ever been to Homer in the summer? Count the license plate. You're going to think, you know.
Well, two things on that. According to Pedro Van Meurs, who did a study for the legislature on this, he looked at the North American oil jurisdictions and he concluded that one of the least attractive oil jurisdictions in North America is North Dakota and Texas and Louisiana. They have very high tax rates. That's not my figures. That's Pedro Van Meurs.
Well,
one
that's
thing.
your reading of payroll.
No, that's a
Woods.
direct quote on page 82.
I read the same thing and come to a completely different.
You had
conclusion.
access to, you got to go in and read it?
No, but I've
Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
so
no,
here's,
but there are other
here's
sources
the
of
thing.
information.
Here's the thing. If you could just pull up into somebody's cow yard, I don't know, what do they call them? A field? Sorry, it's the Homer thing. If you just pull up with a rig and you can like start fracking right there, which is what they're doing. They're fracking. It's not a dirty word, by the way.
It certainly
But
sounds like one.
It certainly does when you
Depends.
see.
In some cases, it is a
And when
dirty
you
word.
see what it does to people's water supplies when they can, light their faucets, the reason that North Dakota has the boom it has right now is because they are fracking. That is a new technology where they are able to go
Well,
in and do something completely
development
new.
costs are low. You can drive right up there.
Yeah, you
I
can
mean,
drive
it's
right
just-
up there. You don't have to build an ice road.
That's right.
You don't have to wave at any sort of like endangered species.
I hate to
It's awesome. I mean, you can do that there. I mean, and I look at it this way too. The one thing that people don't talk about is that North Dakota, they've got a state-run bank. They've got income tax. They have no dividend. And they also don't collectively bargain their oil and mineral rights. So here we collectively bargain as a state. The oil companies go from landowner to landowner to landowner, and they get anywhere from, I've seen it as low as 13, 14%, and I've seen it as high as 50, that they're negotiating and they're having to pay the landowner. Well, when people go, well, for the love of Judas Priest, look, they're only charging 12% in North Dakota. Well, yeah, they do. But they're not taking into account that they got to go pay another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% to the landowner. That's in itself. And then the landowner has to turn around and pay taxes on it to the state and to the federal government.
Well, yeah, the problem is that they're getting the investments in, and we are
In
not
strippers.
in investment. Huh?
Do you know they've got those
They're not
strippers?
stripper wells.
You
don't know what the term- I'm sorry,
Tom,
sir. You don't know
Tom,
what the
Tom,
term means.
Tom, I wasn't talking about stripper wells. I was talking about the ladies.
Oh,
Yeah, it's different.
that's my next book.
There's
No,
a stripper crisis.
I'm
All
telling
of
you.
our strippers are going south.
I'm telling you, it's true.
Oh my God! When the tourists leave, it's bad, but when the strippers go, that's the end of Alaska.
They are.
I mean, the tourists just bring money, but the strippers bring so much more.
They do. They really add a different flavor, don't they?
Sorry, but that's an oil company term. It's, it means, it has many meanings.
That's where the term came from. There
Yeah.
were no
Stripper
strippers
what?
before oil.
Right. Although, from what I understand, that line of work, which I find to be pretty honest, frankly, compared to politics.
Well, it's certainly hard to hide anything in that business.
Don't listen to that, Bill.
She seems so open and transparent. Wow. No, there was, if you didn't follow it at home, there was a big article that, all the strippers are getting to North Dakota and making a lot of money. They just don't have anywhere to live. I'm sure they find a place. Now,
Trailers work there too.
what's your take on the whole, not the loss of strippers and that this is like really a horrible thing for us, but what is your take on the North Dakota argument?
Well,
And we got like a minute.
we actually asked the Legislative Research Services to analyze some claims that were made, and here's a direct quote. In light of the above information, claims that the petroleum industry investment in North Dakota at the expense of such investment in Alaska is occurring primarily due to differences in tax structure appear to be problematic. To the contrary, it is clear that the rapid expansion of oil and gas production in North Dakota was initiated by advances in oil recovery technologies.
Which was I wrong?
Right.
Isn't that fracking?
That's
That's
fracking.
fracking,
The reason
yeah.
people are going to North Dakota is because of fracking. But let me give you an example. If Alaska is sort of like imagine you have an apple farm and you lease out to someone, come and pick my apples and then I'll pay you a percentage, or you pay me a percentage of what you sell. The company can't come in and lease your apple field and then say, you know what, I got a better opportunity somewhere else, so I'm not gonna pick your apples this year. They took out a lease, and the leases in Alaska require that when you can make a reasonable profit in the state of Alaska, you have to produce on that lease. So when oil companies sit on leases and then come back to the state and say, hey, we need tax breaks, well, they're violating the terms of their lease. And when you look at the numbers that they're making, $20 billion in profits in 4 years since ACES has been passed, 123% rate of return at Prudhoe Bay, then I would say that's a reasonable profit. And that if they're not producing on those, the governor needs to step down and say, you know what, if you're not going to drill, we will.
Thank you.
The only problem with that is you end up going to court, and anybody who's ever been in court knows that the word reasonable has about 15 definitions.
It does.
Yes.
We got to run to a break because it's the reasonable thing to do, Mr. Medred.
Sounds
We'll be
good.
right back with more Up North. Oh, I'm so glad you put that robe back on. No, you at home. Really. Thank you. This is my favorite part of the show, is questions from the audience. You're always welcome to come down to the Taproot on Thursday nights and be part of the fun. I think it's kind of neat down here. Here's some of the questions. Senator Bill Wielechowski. And they have not seen these. What grade would you give the Alaska Chamber of Commerce?
I'm not going to go there. I don't think they're very good at grading. So, yeah.
I'd give them the 3rd grade. That's about the close they belong, right?
I like that one a lot. If we can spend state money to provide infrastructure for the oil and gas industry, why can't the state spend money to convert coolest hangars into sound stages, then rent them out? I love it.
You know, I've actually heard there's a Native Corp that's looking into doing sound stages. So I think it's great.
We can't spend money because they don't want to spend money. We have all the money in the world. We're in a recession when we can build stuff for cheap, and the legislature doesn't want to spend money. It's like when your bank account is overflowing, that's always what you do, right? Oh, don't spend any money now. I got lots of it. I'll sit on it.
Little golden eggs in there. Mike Hawker's just nestled down on them.
Coolest probably would make a good soundstage.
Right. No, that would be great. What is it about Sean Parnell? There's more to this question. I could answer it right there. You had me at Sean Parnell. That he is constantly rejecting federal money on almost everything and suing the federal government. Any guesses? He sues the federal government over everything. Now he's suing the Lake and Penn Borough, for God's sake. You know, because boroughs just have lots of money floating around. They're ready to have their states sue them over the No Pebble ballot initiative.
Well, there's an important legal question there that I think he's trying to get resolved.
I think you have to sue on that one.
Well, why is the state suing on it? Why isn't Pebble suing on it?
Well, I think the state interest...
You know why? Because they're saving their money to give it to Sean Parnell when he runs.
Yeah.
No, there's a legitimate state question there, and it is, you know, should 260 people decide the fate of a project that has statewide
You know what?
implications?
There are hundreds of pages of mining law in Fairbanks Borough, North Star Borough, and Juneau Borough. I don't know. I just think he's kind of silly about things. Senator Wielechowski, would you consider running for statewide office, please?
I'm happy to be running for re-election in my Senate seat.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're there. Don't oil fields usually have declining production rates? How would decreasing the tax rate help that? My God, whoever wrote that is a genius.
Who are you asking?
Well, I'm throwing it out there. What do you got?
If the way to reduce the decline rate is to put more oil in the pipeline, you do that with that exploration and you're bringing more, getting more oil, in other words. It could come from numerous sources. There are a lot of them right around what do they call the old fields? The
strippers.
The legacy wells.
Kidding.
And then, you know, if Shell comes into something out where they are, that could help a lot too.
Hey, BP's sitting on one of the biggest directional drilling rigs ever built. It's sitting on the North Slope. It hasn't punched a hole in the ground yet.
Well, they need to erect it, direct it, and drill it then, right?
Yeah, but apparently they don't think it's worth it. I mean, we're in kind of a tough situation. I mean, there's some reason to get into a state oil company and do our own drilling.
So far, we're not in a civil war. Nobody's shooting at anybody here except for, well, on occasion. But, you know, honestly, I think it's money in the bank for them. I think it's just so stable here. You know, they can get out other places. Are you moving your money from big corporate banks into a local bank or credit union on Move Your Money Day? I already have a credit union. I do not use a for-profit bank system at all.
You have money? You're doing better in this business than I am.
When is Move Your Money Day?
Yeah, it's by this Saturday. I'm proud of my parents. They did it. I know a lot of people. In fact, Last year, 600,000 people moved from corporate banks into credit unions, which are locally owned. In October alone, 650,000 people did that. It's happening rapidly. People are tired of the banking system on Wall Street, and they're like, fine, I'm gonna be a member. You should try it, Tom. You might like it. We have benefits. We do. Where's John Cusack? He's at work right now. Yes, he's filming. Do you think I'm pretty?
Is that John Cusack? Or?
Who wrote this? We're all pretty on the inside and on radio. That's what. There's so many. Should Mayor Sullivan expect from what should Mayor Sullivan expect from Dan Coffey for $60,000? Our slumber. Is that back to the stripper question?
It could be, but I think he's looking for. Is he lobbying for the port? That's a good
Did he
question.
say lobbying?
Well, for one thing,
Oh,
they
I
need.
thought I thought he said something else.
One thing is that he needs legislation to get that $350 million.
Or the
for
$1
port.
billion, depending on who you talk to.
Well, I think I don't think he's going to get the billion from Dan Coffey on that one. But
No.
that'd cost extra.
Here's the thing. Why is the mayor doing that when basically every legislator in Anchorage already gets it, and Dan Coffey's alienated from a whole lot of people? Why would you pick him?
I don't know. I mean, it's the
I mean,
mayor,
other than your friend.
It's the mayor's call, and he thinks Dan can do it.
What do you think, Medred?
I don't think they're going to get that kind of money.
I think Senator Wielechowski probably gives a better.
Well,
Guess
you
on
know,
that.
I can tell you, $1 billion is going to be a hard sell. $350 million is hard to get. Port's an important piece of infrastructure. 90% of all the goods that come to Alaska go through the Alaska port. It's just every year it's been such a problem, and been, you know, there's got to be some really good justification for what's going on and a clear direction on where they're going with the port.
Well, and it
I'll
would
drink
seem
to
like
that.
the opposite of the Midas touch. Bill Sheffield has been in charge for long enough. Just saying. We're going to be back next week. My thanks to the panel and to David Linck. We'll be back with more Up North next week.